stand up for the legal rights of dangerous drug dealers, President Trump is happy to be on the other side. And that does seem like the direction that the justification game is going here. And the White House added, quote, "Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. We will stop at nothing to defend our homeland and our citizens." Now, when turning to the legal justification here, which I feel like is an important piece to break down, there's a good article in the Lawfare blog where they say, quote, "The issue is not defending alleged drug smugglers, but whether the U.S. president can use unconstrained, lawless violence in violation of the criminal laws that Congress has enacted." So we're going to dive into that and why these strikes are so much different than what we saw during the global war on terror. But first, a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Outskill. Hey, I wanted to share with you all a pretty cool opportunity here to learn more about AI and how you can leverage these tools in your personal or professional life. I mean, AI has changed everything. It's not just helpful anymore, it's required. Now, personally, I use a variety of AI tools to help with the editing of these thumbnails that go up on YouTube, comparing different video titles to see what might outperform the other, and then, of course, diving into background research on a wide variety of subjects. And I don't think it's a secret that AI is really the fastest path forward if you want to boost your career, land a higher paying role, or even launch something of your own. And that's why I'm excited to share that Outskill, the sponsor of today's video, is hosting a 2-day AI Mastermind workshop this weekend. It runs Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern, and in just 16 hours, expert mentors will guide you through real-world AI skills. This isn't just about learning some new skills, but actually putting those new skills to use. I mean, past participants of this program have already built and launched more than 100 different AI products of their own. Now, normally this training costs $895, but I've partnered with Outskill to give away 1,000 seats for free. And here's what you'll get: training with more than 10 different AI tools, how to automate workflows and build AI products without code, lifetime access to Outskill's AI community of professionals, a prompt Bible, roadmap to monetize AI, personalized toolkit builder, and more. Now, Outskill is rated 4.9 out of 5 on Trustpilot and already has more than 10 million people that have joined their program. And again, seats are limited, so scan the QR code on the screen or check out the link in the description and pinned comment below to secure your spot now. And of course, thank you again to Outskill for sponsoring today's video. So a pretty detailed article here put up on the Lawfare blog by Brian Finucane titled, quote, "Asserting a License to Kill, Why the Caribbean Strike is a Dangerous Departure from the War on Terror." And Finucane was an attorney at the State Department for 2011 through 2021, so he would have served under Obama, Trump, and Biden. Now, the reason that this article stood out to me and I felt like it was worth presenting is we see the terminology terrorist being utilized, and we have drone strikes against these guys, and the easy comparison then is the global war on terror. We still today are carrying out drone strikes across the Middle East and North Africa where we are killing members of Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, and other terror organizations. So it's very easy to say, if we can do that in Syria today, why can we not do that against cartels coming to the coast of the United States? And again, when you look at the emotional side of this, I get it. Much closer to our home, more of a direct impact on the lives of American citizens. The issue is not that, it's the legality of what has been put in place and what has not. And that's what Finucane gets into here. He says the Trump administration's lethal strike in the Caribbean is categorically distinct from these prior controversies, talking about GWAT strikes. Instead, the administration is effectively asserting its prerogative to kill outside of the law entirely. There is simply no credible argument that an armed conflict exists involving the United States and whoever was on that boat. Nor is there any credible argument that those on the boat presented an imminent threat of armed attack against the United States that could have triggered the initiation of an armed conflict. With neither of those facts being present, we're left with premeditated killing of human beings, not in an armed conflict and not in self-defense. Now, they do talk about why this was so different than GWAT and provide some actual examples here, how that war was fought. And I think it's important to note here, whether you think that was right or wrong, or we exceeded the authority or not, there was just straight up a different framework being operated under. He said the United States launched the targeted killings of the war on terror in response, of course, to the September 11th attacks. He says the United Nations Security Council recognized the U.S. right to self-defense in response to the attack, and Congress enacted the 2001 authorization for the use of military force against those responsible for those attacks. Critically, the lethal U.S. response that followed was governed by the law of war. even if there were legitimate debates around the contours of how that body of law applied, and the U.S. Supreme Court and lower courts applied the law of war to those conflicts. And an important aspect here, and what it kind of looks like, is we've got the term terrorist, and we're just throwing it around and saying, well, terrorists, there's your justification, drone strike them. It doesn't quite work like that. They say, quote, these terrorist designations are a complete red herring. Not only were designations of the criminal groups as terrorists unprecedented and inappropriate, but they provide no authority to use military force. Moreover, these designations or otherwise labeling a group or person a terrorist does not magically transform them into a lawful target or otherwise permit the use of lethal force against them, nor does it create an armed conflict where one did not exist before that label is used. And this is something we've brought up in a few videos, and I think it's arguably the most important piece of all of this right now, is multiple things can be true at once. The cartels can be bad. They can be doing a lot of damage to the United States. We do need to, I personally think, increase our activity against them to try to tamp down the influence they have in the United States. There's a lot to be done there. These are bad guys, no doubt, doing harm in America. At the same time, simply labeling someone a terrorist does not automatically open up the legality to kill them. And that's a concern. I think wherever you fall on this issue, I think it's worth keeping front of mind is we can agree that different groups right now, Houthis, right, labeled a foreign terror organization. I think most people watching these videos would say, yes, that's correct. I think the cartels probably is a little more of a gray zone, but my gut says that the majority of Americans are on board with calling these organizations and labeling these organizations terrorists, which opens up a broad range of financial and legal resources that we can use to try to tamp down their activities. But if you just start, you just have to think about where that could go, is I think where we need to be very careful. And we haven't really pushed back on the idea that the terrorist designation can be kind of free and loose, because I think generally it's been in line with what most Americans feel to be the right thing to do. But if we equate that terrorist designation with the authority for the government to kill with no questions asked, that sets up some problems going forward. And I think it's an obligation to stay on top of this and make sure we have these conversations. Now, it's not just that one article in Lawfare. We are starting to see a number of people come out against this. Politico ran a piece earlier today where Mr. Katz said, quote, Gaza is burning. The IDF strikes with an iron fist at the terrorist infrastructure, and IDF soldiers are fighting bravely to create the conditions for the release of the hostages and the defeat of Hamas. We will not relent, and we will not go back until the completion of the mission. We have a little bit more here from the IDF, but I'm going to insert a personal opinion here. I'm not entirely, and I don't think this should come as a shock at this point. It doesn't seem like there is a military solution right now to get the hostages back. And this isn't some new revelation that I just woke up this morning and went, oh man, I don't think that's going to work. I think anybody following this conflict, and a lot of folks in Israel, I see a lot of feedback and a lot of emails and wonderful notes from people much closer to this conflict than I. It's hard to see at this point how there is a military solution to the return of the hostages. Just, to fully eliminate everyone in Hamas, you're going to have to eliminate some of those people that are guarding the hostages and they're holed up right next to them. At which point we have already seen Hamas has executed the hostages when Israeli forces get close, lest they risk there actually being a successful rescue operation. So it's very hard to think of this. I think you can have one or the other at this point. And I understand that is a serious debate inside of Israel right now, is there are people pushing back saying that the hostages are not being prioritized. And I can understand that. And I think it's been that way for quite a while. Just outside looking in, it's not increased firepower. It's not a few more airstrikes. It's not a few more ground raids that will lead at this point to a rescue operation. That's not to say we're never going to see that again, right? The Israeli military and security apparatus is incredible in what they're able to pull off. It's not out of the question that is still in the cards somewhere, but that right now it's very hard to look at that and say that there's a military solution to the successful, safe return of all remaining living hostages. The IDF spokesperson, Brigadier General Defrin, put out a statement saying, quote, Gaza City is the central hub of Hamas's military and governing power, their main stronghold. Hamas has turned Gaza City into the largest human shield in history. And that's going to be important. That's something President Trump spoke to just before this operation kicked off. He says, beneath the streets runs a vast network of tunnels connecting command centers, rocket launchers, and weapons storage facilities, all deliberately hidden under civilians and civilian infrastructure. We continue to urge civilians to distance themselves away from the combat zones in Gaza City so they can reach safer areas. We've seen a lot of footage in recent days of migration within the Gaza Strip. A lot of Gazans moving from Gaza City, mostly south from what I've seen, but evacuating as best they can. There have also been some audio clips released of Palestinians talking to the IDF saying, we are trying to go, but Hamas is putting up roadblocks and not allowing us to leave or pushing us back in. We've seen that before. That also should not come as a major shock. One of the benefits of an insurgency, an organization like Hamas in this case, or Islamic State throughout much of the world, is they rely on the proximity to civilians to make it harder for their enemy to conduct successful operations. So the idea that Hamas would want more civilians in Gaza City, like, of course, we have seen that from day one, and we're still seeing that now. Defrin says, quote, in recent weeks, the IDF expanded humanitarian efforts in Gaza, setting up humanitarian areas in the south. The area provides greater access to food, water, medical care, and shelter. And while Israel works to open corridors for civilians to move south, such as the Rashid corridor, Hamas is actively trying to block them, forcing families to turn back and remain in harm's way in order to shield Hamas fighters and preserve its power. So a lot of people there, they're going to be in a really tough spot, right? What do? You don't want to sit and wait after a city has been ordered to be evacuated ahead of an Israeli offensive. You don't want to defy that and just sit around and hope that you don't get caught in the crossfire. Meanwhile, it's how are you going to stand up to Hamas if you're out there on your own? There's going to be a lot of people stuck in the middle there. They say Hamas continues to hold dozens of our hostages in inhumane conditions. Their safe return is the forefront of our mission. They are the reason we continue to fight. Our forces are acting with determination, guided by the clear moral duty to free our hostages and end Hamas's rule of terror. Now, we do have a statement here from Hamas in a moment directly responding to a comment made by President Trump, but I do want to turn to some Al Jazeera reporting, providing that perspective on how things are playing out. They say Israel has bombed and destroyed the tallest residential building in Gaza, the Al Ghafri high-rise, as it launched a massive wave of strikes on Gaza City Monday evening, forcing hundreds of thousands of residents to continue to flee the city. Hundreds of thousands of residents in Gaza City alone seems steep. Maybe. It's hard to calculate that at this point because there's been so much displacement throughout the Gaza Strip. But if you're talking around 2 million people total, a couple 100,000 still remaining in Gaza City seems like an awful lot. Either way, there's a lot of people there, no doubt. They say Israeli media source Channel 12 reported that exceptionally intense airstrikes were concentrated in the city's north and west, while the Palestinian Civil Defense said at least 50 multi-story buildings had been leveled in recent weeks as Israeli forces intensified attacks to seize the city. Other neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble. In Zaytun, more than 1,500 homes and buildings have been destroyed since early August, leaving entire city blocks with nothing left standing. Now, I mentioned the timing of a statement from President Trump, which he said, hey, this is your last chance, essentially, to Hamas. And I can understand how Hamas or anyone else hears that and goes, there's been one case so far where President Trump has essentially issued a warning, and then at that exact time, when it comes to foreign affairs, international relations, and military stuff, right? With Iran, he gave 60 days, and on the 61st day, we saw U.S. military action against their nuclear facilities. There have been multiple last chances given to Hamas, so it's understandable why they might brush this aside. But on September 15th, President Trump, so Monday, President Trump stated, quote, I read a news report that Hamas moved the hostages above ground to use them as human shields against Israel's ground offensive. I hope the leaders of Hamas know that what they're getting into if they do such a thing. This is a human atrocity, the likes of which few have seen. Don't let this happen or else all bets are off. Release all of the hostages now. Shortly after this post was sent out, the Israeli ground offensive began, not suggesting there was necessarily timing, like waiting for President Trump to say that or not, but just notable, Israel was rearing to go when President Trump made that statement. Hamas responded to President Trump saying, quote, Trump's statements regarding the terrorist attack by the occupation army on the city of Gaza and the situation of the Zionist prisoners are a blatant bias in favor of Zionist propaganda and constitute double standards because they ignore the ethnic cleansing and the killing of 65,000 Gazans. Again, as mentioned previously, we're not getting a lot of information from Hamas at this point. I would expect to see an increase in some of their footage, some of their statements here in coming days as combat intensifies in Gaza City. Now, amidst all of this, as I was putting this video together, something popped up on my feed. We have Senator Van Hollen just back from a trip to Israel who lays out pretty clearly here He says, based off what I've seen, Israel is committing ethnic cleansing. And I believe this is the most senior current U.S. official to make this this sort of claim. Let's go ahead and play that full video here. I think it's 3 minutes in length. Here we go.
The Netanyahu government is engaged in a campaign of ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Senator Jeff Merkley and I just recently returned from a week-long trip to the Middle East. We visited Israel, the West Bank, Jordan, and Egypt. And we focused on lots of issues, but the main area of focus was on the absolute humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. We came away with one inescapable conclusion, and that is that the Netanyahu government is engaged in a campaign of ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Now, both of us fully believe that Israel had a right and a duty to defend itself and its people after the horrific Hamas terror attack of October 7th. But it's very clear that the Netanyahu government has gone way beyond targeting Hamas to imposing collective punishment on the people of Gaza.
We're here on the Egyptian side of the Rafah Gate, looking over into Gaza, and it has been absolutely leveled. It is just a pile of rubble.
If you look at the numbers put forward by international organizations, you'll see that they estimate 90% of the homes in Gaza have been destroyed or severely damaged. Part of the Netanyahu government strategy has been to use food as a weapon of war. And what we saw very clearly was that the Netanyahu government was raising obstacles to the delivery of that food. We went to the Israeli port of Ashdod that the World Food Program uses to offload food destined to help starving people in Gaza. But because of the unnecessary restrictions imposed by the government of Israel, only a very small share of food that could be delivered immediately actually gets through.
The folks who need the food the most are, of course, kids and the vulnerable, and they're not getting it. They're just not getting this food at all.
We began our trip with our first public meeting being with families of hostages. And to a person, the ones we met with said that Prime Minister Netanyahu has prioritized his political survival over the survival of their loved ones. And so we come back here after our trip really to sound the alarm and say America should not be party to a campaign of ethnic cleansing. It's both immoral and it's flat out illegal. Let's end it and bring the hostages home.
All right, so again, I think that is probably the most senior U.S. official to push back in that meaningful of a way and label these actions as a war crime. I just don't know that we've seen that from a U.S. senator, certainly nobody in the White House anytime recently. So we'll see. I don't know if that's going to get much attention. I don't know if anything is going to come of it, but nonetheless, pretty notable statement that was just made a few hours ago. Now, while all the focus is on Gaza, we do still have Israel and the Houthis going back and forth, and Israel carried out another strike just a couple days ago against the port of Hodeidah in Yemen. And the way this played out was kind of interesting. So Israel issued a statement at 6:33 CDT, so Central Time here where I'm located. The exact time doesn't, it's the time difference between these two that matters, but the IDF Arabic spokesperson put out a public notice saying, urgent warning to everyone present at the port of Hodeidah in Yemen. The army will attack in the coming hours in the area specified on the map in light of the military activities carried out by the terrorist Houthi regime. For your safety, we urge all of those present at the port of Hodeidah and the ships anchored there to evacuate the area immediately. Anyone who remains in that area puts their life in danger. And about, 2 hours later, so 8:29 CDT, so just under 2 hours later, we got confirmation from sources in Yemen and started publicly posting that things were going boom near the port. So it looks like in that particular case, Israel and the IDF gave the Houthis 2 hours of warning and then carried out a strike against Houthi infrastructure. The IDF statement said, quote, they struck a military infrastructure belonging to the Houthi terrorist regime at the Hodeidah port in Yemen. The strike was carried out in response to the repeated attacks by the Houthis against the state of Israel, including UAVs and surface-to-surface missiles. The IDF will continue to act with strength against these repeated attacks. The Houthis, for their part, did mention during the course of these strikes that their air defenses had become active. Does not appear that it was... We didn't see anything get shot down, didn't see any detonations. Following the attack, the Houthis said, quote, "The air defenses caused great confusion for the enemy aircraft and forced some of their combat formations to leave the airspace before carrying out their aggression, and the penetration into the depth was thwarted, thanks to God." We don't really have anything to verify that at all other than the Houthi statement. I should mention that since that Israeli strike, I think it was just yesterday, the Houthis launched another, what they say were 2 hypersonic ballistic missiles at Israel. Israel confirmed 1 interception. It sounds like the other missile maybe didn't quite make it to Israeli airspace or close enough to need to be intercepted. But either way, while Israel is pushing into Gaza City, what is set to be probably a pretty significant fight, they're still dealing with the Houthis down in Yemen. So it's going to be worth keeping an eye on both of those situations going forward. But that's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
A turbulent week on social media. In a time where people were hoping for peace, well, we've seen a lot of divisiveness and more calls to violence. In wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, it appears that Redditors are now calling for more acts of violence, including those targeting Asmongold. Now, before we get into that, I want to report on something I talked about 2 weeks ago, where myself and many other YouTubers claimed that our view count around the second week of August dropped by nearly 50%, but in my case, I saw an increase in ad revenue, which makes absolutely no sense. And now, YouTube has come out with an official statement on the matter, saying that those views that were not counted were because users were using an ad blocker. Which again, based on my own experience, makes no sense whatsoever. And in wake of this, I'll just tell you, I do not judge you for using an ad blocker. If you want to support the channel, watch my videos, like, comment, or subscribe. And if you're feeling real frisky, give a super thanks. I will heart your comment. That is a very rare currency, but that is really what's going on. I just want to give a quick update on that because I find all of this very confusing. But let's move on to Reddit. And if you've been paying attention to my channel or the platform itself, Reddit has become a cesspool that is fostering so many calls to political violence, and it's very disturbing to see. And we've seen people targeting Asmongold for very, very long. Here's just a recent example on one of the biggest gaming-related subreddits saying, okay, obviously his dad getting cancer is bad, but also finally, he is gone from the internet for a while. 12,000 updates, referring to Asmongold taking a brief hiatus from the internet because he's treating his dad who has cancer. This is the type of stuff that is being fostered over on Reddit. This is not some small offset anonymous messaging board. This is Reddit, and it's disturbing. But anyways, in wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, a lot of people are looking at many platforms, including Reddit, for fostering this sort of advocation and tolerance for people wanting political violence. And we've seen, in reaction to what happened, many people on Reddit not only celebrating, but moderators saying, we might have had a slight warning from the admins, no calling or glorifying violence. That said, posting crabs is not violent, in reference to people celebrating his assassination. And now we have this. The very expected next step of what's been fostered over on that platform. People saying, do him next, with a winky face and a picture of Asmongold. Now understand, this has a update status of nearly 1,000 likes in the first 30 minutes. I I assume this post is down, but this is a screenshot. It's really that simple, ladies and gentlemen. They want anyone who even remotely thinks differently than them to be attacked. It's really disturbing stuff. And on Twitter, you have this post quoting someone sharing the post we just saw, saying, Reddit bans you if you say men are not women, but allows you to call for assassinating any moderately right-wing person. And I will say this about Asmongold. I believe he is like the ultimate centrist. So the fact that Reddit feels so strongly about him and thinks he's like some far-right personality is really telling on them. But in a very interesting turn of events and something we've talked about the last couple of days, Elon Musk would respond to that post saying, this is messed up, with 212,000 likes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're nervous, there are normal people out there who see the stuff and say, this is disturbing. And as you can see from this reply, it says, if you don't believe demons exist, take a look through Reddit for 5 minutes. You'll see countless posts celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder and calling to murder anyone who isn't woke ideologue. Pure, unadulterated evil. And that is the case with Reddit. Here's some other posts I want to share. So this one says, sorry, another political post. Hey guys, another political post in wake of quote unquote some events in the US this week. I just want to let you all know I'm totally over it. And if I see any MAGA sympathizing in the reports, I'm just banning you at this point. This is just me as a mod. I'm not speaking for others. I don't want you here. Most rational people don't want you here. I'm tired of you invading our spaces to bitch and moan. Thanks. Also, if you report this post, you're also getting banned if I can figure out who you are. This is a moderator on their platform saying, if you have different political beliefs than me, I will ban you no matter what. And I'll ban you if you try to report this post. Here's another one saying the right killed Charlie so they can usher in Christian nationalism and eventually start a genocide for Christ to rid the world of evil. They claim to be the good ones. This rhetoric is all over. They're openly saying it. And this person makes a great point in the response, saying, conservatives, okay, we're going to hold you accountable to your own standard. Leftists, oh no, they're going to usher in fascism. Interesting. Interesting how holding someone to their own standards on Reddit is ushering in a new age of fascism. Very interesting. Here's one more saying the fact that people are getting fired for not praising Charlie Kirk after his death is really scary. Interesting. No one's being fired because they're not praising Charlie Kirk. They're being fired because they're celebrating his death and advocating for further acts of political violence. It's that simple. And these people are trying to add these smoke screens and these misdirections, acting like people are simply being fired for not praising him after his murder. And I guess some people are becoming self-aware, as reported here. This caption, sane Redditors viewing the popular post today saying, are we the baddies? Yeah, this has been the case for a long time. Reddit is one of the most insane platforms on this earth. The amount of radicalization and calls to violence on Reddit will blow your mind. It used to be kind of like a goofy platform, or like, you know, you would think like some nerd would be from, but no. It's now hosting a bunch of radicalized nut jobs because that's what the moderation team and the leaders at Reddit are tolerating and promoting. Now, to give you some hope and also a counter perspective on all of this, let's turn to Chris Pratt, the actor. This is someone who I genuinely believe is a hope for all of us. In a world, in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry that is filled with so much corruption and just downright degeneracy, this man is standing tall and he's being persecuted because of it. He made this response to the Charlie Kirk assassination, saying, "Praying for Charlie Kirk right now, for his wife and young children, for our country. We need God's grace. God, help us." And he was canceled for this. He was canceled and mocked for this post. In fact, the top reply is this: "Praying for you to get effing fired from Marvel." 63,000 likes. And you know what this man did? He responded with this, giving prayers. And I don't care if you're religious or not. Let's just listen to what Chris Pratt has to say and just take it in and try to absorb the message he is trying to say.
Hey guys, just stop real quick and pray with me. Lord, you say, "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. In this moment, please, Lord, calm my restless mind. Quiet my anxious heart. Help me set aside distractions and choose what gives life and gives peace. Isaiah 26:3, you keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you. Lord, fill me with strength to turn my attention toward you, that I find rest and joy in your presence. Amen. Okay, now you can continue strolling, or you can turn your phone off and go outside. Might I suggest the latter? Go get some sunshine, go look at a tree, touch some grass, call a friend. If you've got time to be on your phone right now, you've got time to do your to-do list, and you've got time to reach out to somebody in need and share this prayer with them. Amen.
Again, if you're religious or not, I think what he's saying is something we can all absorb and take some value from. And overall, this has been a very tough week. I won't lie to you. And speaking for myself, I've talked about something tangible to the Charlie Kirk assassination for basically the last 6 or 7 videos. And at first, I lost a couple hundred subscribers when I first reacted. I know it was an emotional video. It was very short the day it happened. And that's okay. I'm not shaming someone for moving on. It's okay. If you're surprised by my reaction to what happened, I don't think I was the best fit for you. But over the past couple of days, the amount of support I've received it's flabbergasting. And it's meant a lot to me, okay? I read comments, right? I typically, I guess, have the sin of looking at the top comments, right? I look at the video and I see what's the kind of pulse on this video, and I look at the top comments. But recently, YouTube has changed the community tab on your homepage, where if I look to comments, instead of initially listing the most recent ones, it just randomizes it, right? And it gives you kind of like a sense of the 0 liked comments instead of the most liked ones or the most recent ones, which is different. And I've been paying so many people who just discovered my channel and are confused by my avatar. Sorry. But you know what? They appreciate what I'm doing, and I appreciate the kind words. That's all I can say. It's been an unbelievable amount of support, and you've helped me rebound from a very tough time. And I appreciate you guys, and I'm not going to get too much on my soapbox here, but it has been very important to me to see all your words. I've been reading comments more than ever, and it's been great. That's all I can say. And like I said, I'll get off the soapbox for now, but I appreciate you guys. And that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
so awesome. I can't believe it's free. In today's video, Hassan is playing victim again, crying about being banned on Twitch for 1 day. He's calling Elon Musk a slop tuber for calling him out. Hassan is now claiming that all his incitements to violence were actually high IQ metaphors. He now thinks that everyone calling him out is funded by Israel. His own chatters are calling him a massive hypocrite. Local degenerate and lunatic streamer Destiny is saying he wants to genocide all conservatives, calling them evil. He's saying they should be afraid of being killed in public. He's now being called out on Piers Morgan for making fun of Charlie Kirk's death and mocking his grieving wife. Subscribe or you're stuck in an elevator with Hassan and Destiny. You're cooked. Alexa, give me a synonym for invertebrate. What's that? Jellywig?
Let's up those numbers!
Now let's begin with Hassan playing victim again. This time he's crying about being banned on Twitch in the past. Keep in mind this was a 24-hour ban on his day off, which was basically a holiday. Hassan claims he's been banned on Twitch more than your favorite edgy streamer. So basically, a chatter calls him out for glazing the terrorist group Hamas, and he responds.
Also, once again, I've been banned more times than all of your favorite fucking edgy streamers. So that's what's hilarious about this process, where people will be like, you just get slaps on the wrist, bro. I get banned more than your favorite fucking gamers that love using gamer words and shit, okay?
Right, so I think he's talking about Tectone or Asmon here. Hassan, you were banned 4 times in the last 6 years, and none of them have lasted longer than a week. You absolute fucking liar. That's the point. None of these bans are actually serious. They are a slap on the wrist just so you can use this pathetic defense. Also, who are you talking to? Not even your brainwashed cult followers are falling for this bullshit. We all know you got Twitch CEO Dan Clancy in your pocket, all the Twitch staff, Omega Hassan Glazers who literally wish you happy birthday. I don't even want him banned anymore. He needs to be arrested for promoting terrorism and inciting violence. Even a permaban is not enough at this point. Tectone responds, Hassan, me calling your lord friend Hijabba the Hutt fat got me banned longer than you've ever been banned on your history of this platform. Shut the frick up, you fraud. If any of your audience fact checked that shit spewing out of your mouth, you wouldn't have a career. And he's attached this image of all the Hassan bans starting from August 2020, and it's literally just 4 bans, 7 days, 23 hours, 1 day. And this guy's crying about that over 6 years. Can you even consider 1 day bans? Not really. I mean, it's usually on his day off. It's like coordinated and shit so he can take his vacation in peace. Anyways, moving on to Elon Musk trying to get Hassan banned and arrested. Elon Musk responds to a tweet saying Hassan is inciting violence, paging Jeff Bezos. Hassan responds, the richest dude on the planet spends most of his time on his social media website fomenting white supremacist hatred, trying to spark race riots while highlighting out of context clip compilations to imply a leftist Twitch streamer should be deplatformed or worse. So dumb. Rich dude spends most of his time on social media, tries to spark a race war, highlights out of context clip to deplatform people. Didn't he just perfectly describe himself? As usual, Hassan, the premium projector worth at least $10,000. So Elon posts this meme. They're all Nazis and they're like in school or college. They're all Nazis on TV. They're all Nazis in like culture, and they're all Nazis and somebody actually takes it in their own hands, right? And you know, this is kind of true. Basically, if you brand the other side as literal Nazis, of course, somebody is going to take it into their own hands. So Hassan responds calling Elon Musk a slop tuber. You can't, bro.
Why hasn't he banned you on Twitter then? I don't even want to test that because he's so petty he would. You know what I mean? He is so petty he would do that. And I still use Twitter as a primary mode of communication, so I don't want him to get any ideas. But yeah, it's the same principle behind like he's like a slop tuber, okay? He's like a fucking slop tuber. On the one hand, what do slop tubers do? Well, they'll be like, Hassan is a terrorist. On the other hand, they'll be like, he has a nice car and he's a socialist. It's like these two things don't make sense. Like, am I a terrorist? Or am I like a fake socialist? And also, are you a real socialist? Do you see what I mean? These guys love being like, this is a dangerous radical who must be deplatformed. off of Twitch, but he's also literally he's fine to be on the platform, but he's dangerous and should be deplatformed on Twitch.
Okay, what the actual heck did he just say there? Any Hassan fans watching, please decipher what logic he just used there, because I swear to God, that made 0 sense. This guy's brain is actually fried. Right, so when he says slop tubers, he's mostly picturing me in his head. We all know he's watching every episode. He somehow knows exactly everything I say in every video, yet he's terrified to actually say my name, because then his audience might actually check out the videos and find out that he's a colossal fraud. But yeah, just to clarify, I have never once in the entire series ever called him a terrorist. Not once. I called you someone who supports terrorists, an objectively true fact that I've provided plenty of evidence for. I said that you advocate violence, another objectively true fact. So you see, my world is actually based on actual reality and facts, and this guy just fights against random hypotheticals that he made up in his head. Right, so people are pointing out the obvious. The funny thing about Hassan is that he's 100 times more openly violent, openly hateful, clearly unhinged, and wildly anti-Semitic than Charlie Kirk. But he's on Team Blue, so they put up with it and platform him in the New York Times. And somebody pointed out the landlord's clip. 100% true. Hassan was a million times worse than Charlie, but he's okay because apparently he's on the right side there. He has the approved politics on Twitch, so he faces no consequences. Now, people are pointing out the Hezbollah clip. Hassan Piker sitting at a table with an LGBTQ flag with his gay friend as well, says, overall, my favorite flag is Hezbollah. This is progressivism today. A guy in a tank top in the West praising a terror group that executes gay people right in front of a pride flag. Pretty much sums up the hypocrisy. Quick refresher for the new people to the series.
Oh, like overall, what my favorite flag? Yeah. Hezbollah. Look it up.
Oh.
It's got an AK on it and a fucking hand holding it up.
Wow. Son.
Or
we might have to cut this.
We're behind the paywall. It's fine.
It was in fact not fine. This is the progressive Hassan, by the way. Truly a hypocrite at his core. So Hassan responded, basically coping, saying that none of this is true.
Hold on. Where is it? Breaking. Numerous clips of Hassan Piker calling on his viewers to kill right-wingers are going viral. None of this is true. Incitement to murder, he says. And also, if that was true, I would go to jail, which is, of course, who knows? I mean, maybe the Trump administration will get their hands on this and go, well, this clip out of context is enough for us to take action. Who knows? And if you see it in the wild, you can like correct people if you want. Could you sue for slander? No, dude, it doesn't work that way. Please stop. Yeah. Elon Musk has now on 4 different occasions demanded or reposted like Dan Stalkman, and is now is adding Jeff Bezos to try to get me banned. Not good. Dude, this is not like some low motion shit. Like Elon Musk highlighting this. This has got 91,000 likes, bro. It's got millions, 6.2 million views. It's the classic, my ideological enemies are incapable of engaging in metaphor. That's just never the case. They are unable to engage in metaphor. They will never be able to engage in metaphor. He must mean everything literally, right? That's what they do all the time. And that's precisely what's going on here as well.
Yes, it was a metaphor, guys. You know, when he explicitly said that they should K Rick Scott, yeah, that was a metaphor. You see, when he angrily says the word kill, he doesn't actually mean kill, guys. That's his metaphor, obviously. When he says the phrase murder those motherflippers, it's actually a metaphor for the political and economic state of the world right now, guys. It was out of context, of course. Hassan, when he's on trial, speaking to a judge, it was, Your Honor, it was out of context, of course. Now, what exactly is the context? Well, he'll never tell you that. You have to watch all of his streams till the end of time to figure out the context right there. And the thing is, you can actually tell he's legitimately getting scared because now very powerful people have been alerted to him. And it's not just quote-unquote slop tubers, but he did just call Elon Musk a slop tuber, so I don't know. Also, I love how he said, I would be in jail if this was true, and then immediately says, okay, guys, I might go to jail because of the Trump administration. But I'm still right, guys. Even if I go to jail, this is political terrorism or something. So he actually understands that it's very possible that he could get arrested now. Buddy, you know what? You just keep yapping. You know, please F around some more. Give us some more clips because I can't wait till you find out. So anyways, he continues ulting. Projector VMAX 10,000 here says that people are not interested in the truth.
People don't care. They're not. You can only convince someone who is actually invested in the truth. If they're not invested in the truth, and this is not something that they're interested in at all, they're just like angry and they're looking for a target that they find to be appropriate, you're never going to be able to, like, you might be able to convince your parents who are just like, oh, I heard this guy that you're watching has said a bunch of violent stuff. You can have a conversation with them and be like, that's not the case. Here's why it's out of context. He's speaking metaphorically, blah, blah, blah. But like to the average onlooker online who has already established their worldview, who are just literally not reasoning, who are not listening to reason whatsoever, they're angry. They're looking for a valid target. I happen to be the most visible target that they can launch their endless anger towards.
Yeah, Hassan complaining about being targeted is crazy. Just another reminder, this guy called Ethan's wife Ela a valid military target, called her a baby killer terrorist, who is a valid target. Basically, you know, advocating violence, saying that, you know, it would be right if somebody took her out, right? That's the implication. And now, here he is crying about the fact that he might actually be a target now. Also, this guy talking about the truth, holy shit, this is the guy calling the Charlie Kirk shooter a right-wing conservative MAGA guy, by the way. The guy, living with his trans partner and lover, furry enjoyer, notices bulge ooh-woo guy, who uses anti-fascist terminology, the Bella Ciao song used by Antifa, literally his own mother, own family, and friends said he's a heavily left-wing radical. He wrote a message saying, I want to protect you, my love, to his trans partner, and he obviously thought Charlie was a transphobe and wanted to take him out. He also said, I had enough of his hatred. Very ironic, by the way. This guy killed the most effective conservative activist in a generation, but no, he's a right-wing conservative. He was a MAGA grifter, actually. He's probably an Asmongold fan, obviously. They're actually trying to push this narrative. It's actually ridiculous. Mr. Nobody is interested in the truth denies reality in front of his fucking face, dude. Hassan, you have never been interested in the truth. You are a disgusting, you know, self-admitted propaganda machine. And it's not just him doing this. Jimmy Kimmel just said the same shit. Every news outlet, ABC, parroting the exact same shit. And it is disgusting. Like, people want to know the truth, not whatever cherry-picked political agenda you have. Right, so then he says he's being harassed as part of a broader plan by Israel to undermine him. This guy's brain is so cooked.
I mean, they have a pretty sophisticated network of harassment that even journalists have written about at this point. Like Bloomberg wrote an article about it. There's only one country's troll operations and troll farms that will take it to that level, and that country is Israel. And I think we all know, you know, I am an op to the state of Israel. So they will use their sophisticated influence peddling operation to elevate Gamergate style harassment campaigns and like.
Of course, it was Israel all along. Brother, first he said that Trump administration is paying slop tubers to criticize him. Slop tubers who happen to be in different countries, by the way, which he conveniently ignores. Then he basically says Israel is funding all his detractors. Buddy, what? Dude, you are so brain rotted. It's actually insane. This one conflict has taken over your entire brain. The copium, man. It's like a narcissist through and through. It's impossible for anyone to dislike me. It must be Israel paying them to call me a terrorist supporter, not people using their own eyes and ears. So then a chatter calls him out for being a hypocrite. Basically, they wanted him to give some explanation for his clips advocating violence, and he says that, I don't need to do that. I already did that, bro.
You can be so obnoxiously hypocritical. You say people don't care about the truth, so they won't listen, but then say you stream on here to change those people's minds just so you don't want to make those videos anymore. No, dumbass, I already have made those videos. My point is, there are always going to be some who just don't want to see it or don't want to hear it. What the f wrong with you? How is that obnoxiously hypocritical? I just said I already have done those videos and it doesn't work. Do you find yourself as divisive? Yes, of course I find myself as divisive. Are you kidding me? Dude, there are a decent number of people in this country who believe the most demented shit. Obviously, I'm going to say certain things that they find to be ridiculous.
Yes, Hassan fans are the demented people who believe the unhinged shit. That is the disappointing thing. Again, once again, perfectly describing himself and his fan base. Buddy, you know what? Go to the local Walmart, check yourself in. You would go for at least $15,000. I've never seen a projector of this capacity. Bro, he's been projecting for years. Truly, truly impressive capacity, battery capacity right here. Such clear picture. HD actually. Anyways, moving on to a man who makes Hassan look normal. criminal, Destiny. Reminder, this is the degenerate freak who admits he finds 15-year-olds hot and finds it very hard to not sleep with them.
There are 15-year-old chicks that are like hot as f that will like try to send you pictures to like fuck you at events and shit, and it's like you have to be really careful when you navigate that.
Here he is talking about conservatives. Breaking, Stephen Bonnell, also known as Destiny, calls for conservatives to be killed more often so they will be afraid to attend events or speak out.
Shout out the crime statistics?
Not exactly like...
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear. Like, I don't know. It's like memes. It's just memes to everybody, I guess. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't care. I'm playing video games. Okay, I'm done today. I don't give a fuck. God, it's gonna be so fucking gay if I get killed in the next fucking 2 months of shit I'm doing. Well, the cuck shit out here. Please don't anybody make any actual fucking, the most cucked, weak-ass, fucking bullshit-ass speeches on my side. God, if it happens, holy shit, I'm gonna make a death note before I go out.
Okay, before I address anything, Destiny calling anyone cucked is hilarious. Buddy, you are an actual cuck, Mr. Open Relationship. What are you even talking about? Second off, I love how he just short-circuited there. He realized that, oh shit, I just said something insane. And he just paused like, oh, oopsie, I'm gonna go play games now, guys. You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events. That should be the end of this man on every platform. Think before you sleep responds, is that the guy with illegal material on his computer saying that there should be political assassinations? I'm sure this shocks no one. He did say 914 in the lower right corner. Was this from yesterday? Please someone arrest this PDF file. Destiny clearly wants conservatives dead. He was mocking Charlie Kirk's wife after his death. He refused to condemn the assassination. Complete unhinged lunatic here. He's done it before, in fact. Here he is saying how much he hates conservatives and how political violence is actually okay.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
Very much so. Like I've moved full on to like the political violence level or the real violence level when it comes to conservative people. Yeah, I think they need to be like excised from my fucking country. I think they are demonstrably fucking evil people by any moral system that most people would use. And then I just hate them because they tend to destroy the outcomes related to this country, which is what I'm concerned with. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, so you're not the evil person. It's everybody else. The man who literally admitted he wants political violence is not the evil person. This guy is more demented than Hassan, and that's actually an achievement, man. Anyways, it gets worse. Here he calls for a genocide of conservatives.
I'm ready for the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
The cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
Are you gonna be out in the streets with your Glock?
Maybe. I gotta go back to Nebraska and grab it.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen if somebody on the right said that about liberals. They'd probably pull that clip up after they die and say they deserved it because they said that, right? Because they advocated for violence and death. Dude, this is insane how you can say this and get away with it. And I'm sure there's gonna be the lunatic Destiny fans in the comments like, it's all out of context. It's all out of context. He didn't actually think the 15-year-old was hot. It was out of context. The only thing more pathetic than a Hassan fan has got to be a Destiny fan. How do you defend this man? I just do not understand, brother. He could legitimately commit murder in broad daylight and you'd still be like, Destiny, my queen. Get a grip, bro. Holy shit. He's an unhinged lunatic, bro. He's admitting it. Holy.
The entire world would be better off if these people were permanently removed from these platforms. Like, there is no downside and only upside to see people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool never be allowed to publicly broadcast their opinions ever again. It's exclusively bad stuff that happens.
Right. I don't know about those people or what they've said, but if they've said anything like what you've said, Destiny, then yeah, they deserve that too. It's just hilarious this guy is talking. Buddy, you are a psychopath. You want all conservatives dead. You'll laugh at people getting murdered and assassinated, and you make jokes about kids dying. You mock grieving widows. You also have plenty of documented PDF file behavior. You need to be locked up ASAP. Moving on to Destiny getting called out on Piers Morgan. He's having an absolute meltdown.
Death. When Erica Kirk posted Charlie's coffin, you responded, she tagged him, brackets, crying face emojis. In response to Alina Haber's tweet ordering people to fly their flags at half-mast in memory of Charlie, you posted on X buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. And you then posted yesterday ending every conservative debate call out I'd do in 2026 with don't dodge, bro. That's not what Charlie would have wanted. I mean, do you think that your response to the cold-blooded murder of Charlie Kirk has been appropriate?
Yes. I think that the only way this country moves forward into a better world is when conservatives can finally realize that they need to turn the temperature down on their side. If you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have been president for the second term.
What is wrong with you? Okay, so the mask is fully off then. He just admitted that it's okay to assassinate conservative figures because Trump is president and he just hates him so much? Dude, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't like Trump. I think he's a degenerate. He's defending PDF files with the whole list situation. But I don't want people I disagree with killed because I have basic morality. If you can't condemn murder in general, you have lost your soul. You have lost any argument you want to have with anyone, and you just become a dangerous sociopath who lacks any semblance of human emotion. So then Destiny calls the shooter a conservative MAGA guy. This is the intelligent debater who speaks on facts, by the way. Can't even admit reality in his front of his fucking face.
Who shot Charlie Kirk?
A guy from Utah who was raised in a Christian family, who was a 22-year-old
guy
white
described.
Dude. He wasn't trans. He didn't have a trans
Destiny.
girlfriend. He didn't have any trans influences. He didn't have any trans bullets. Yeah, I'm sorry. You guys were wrong on all of that.
Destiny, do you actually live in Fantasyland? It is 100% confirmed by the FBI, by his family, by all available reporting, his group chats, everything. I'm hoping this was recorded beforehand, but maybe not. I'm sure he'll deny it even after, because Hassan and all these mainstream outlets, they see the evidence in front of them and they purposely deny it because they want to push a certain agenda, and it's so disgusting. Just tell us the facts. I don't care if it looks bad on your group or whatever the hell it is. Tell me what actually happened. People are interested in the truth. The mental gymnastics you have to do to convince people that this guy was a conservative, hardcore Trump fan, and he decided to kill the guy recruiting the most amount of people to the conservative movement. Like, not even the craziest fucking psycho will believe that, but apparently everybody is. They're like just closing their eyes and going with this narrative. It's crazy. And I have no stake in this. I'm not American. I don't give a fuck about politics. I call out both sides. This is just blatantly bullshit. You guys are so ideologically captured and so radically extreme. You have no interest in the truth. You just want to push your radical ass agenda. It's crazy. Play the clip. Oh my God.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate.
He spreads hate, literally shoots the guy. All right, buddy. The worst part is that Hassan and Destiny's audience all agree unanimously. Like, this shooter is a right-wing MAGA conservative guy. Like, you have to have the most fucking brainworms, dude. Including every mainstream media and late-night show host, except obviously a few, right? The gaslighting going on is so crazy. I have never ever seen anything like it. It's like they don't want to see the truth. It's crazy. So anyways, Piers Morgan points out the obvious and the actual facts of the case.
To be clear, the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, has made it clear that their investigation has now established that he had been radicalized by a leftist ideology, which drove him to do this. That's just
I'm sorry, excuse me, when?
Yesterday, he said that.
No. When was he radicalized? In the 6 months that he did remote college? Not
I don't know when he was radicalized, but I do know.
What you just said
I do know
true.
the very reasonable sounding governor of Utah has made it clear that the
he hasn't made it
you may
clear.
not want
he
to
said
hear
this. Is
this.
an ongoing investigation.
You may not want to hear it,
it,
Destiny. But the reality is, the investigators, according to the governor of Utah, have established that he was radicalized to a leftist ideology that drove him to murder Charlie Kirk. Now, let me just ask you.
That's just not true.
Let me just
There's
ask
no
you.
way to deal with it.
Okay,
You're living in a
accusing the
delusional
governor of lying.
fantasy. Yeah.
That's your prerogative. But
Sure.
if it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
Destiny, I have a question for you. Why do you think in your campaign for everyone to dial down the temperature, why do you think that mocking the grieving widow of Charlie Kirk when she posts an image of her at the coffin side, why do you think that constitutes turning down the temperature?
You can't turn down the temperature on your own. The president of the United States is
inflame
not
the temperature.
able
You're
to
mocking
no,
his
it's
widow.
already inflamed.
You're
What are you
mocking his
talking
widow.
about? We've had multiple political assassinations over the past year. What do you mean it's turning up the temperature?
Why did you
to
mock his
fight someone
widow?
Online because
Why
she's
did you
being
mock his
wielded
widow?
as because she's being used as a political weapon right now
Wow.
for conservatives to continue their fight. What do you mean, wow? She's literally doing
Her husband
recruitment
just got
ads
murdered.
on email. Yeah, and she's using it to drive up recruitment for
And
a
you
political
can't even
movement.
condemn the murder. Why can't you condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Because it wasn't my side that caused it. It should
Yes,
be the
it
one that
was.
is driving up
It
the
actually
rhetoric. You
was
don't
your
know it's
side
not
that
even
caused
true.
it.
This
It was
an
your
18
side.
This guy was raised in a white
He was
Christian
a
household,
radicalized
in a Christian
leftist
state.
ideology.
He wasn't radicalized by leftism at all. You have no proof of that whatsoever.
That's what
Just
the
like one that killed
investigators are
Melissa.
saying.
Destiny strategy. No, it's not true, guys. It's not true. This is the facts guy, the master debater. This was one of the biggest voices on the radical left alongside Hassan. Actually embarrassing. Dude, even with absolutely zero evidence, use your fucking brain. Why would a MAGA fan kill the #1 MAGA fan? Also, Destiny has memory loss here. He was raised in a conservative household and turned out to become whatever radical fuck he is now, who wants to kill all conservatives or whatever. So yeah, he is literally the example of how your family could be one thing and you could be something entirely different. Listen, I don't care if you're conservative or liberal or whatever fucking label you choose. I care about the truth. And when I see people on any side blatantly deny reality and cover for people, it pisses me the heck off. It's the same reason I called out Trump, and it's the same reason I'm going to call out Hassan and Destiny. Right, so this other guy calls Destiny a cancer.
All right, Jack Posobiec.
You have a great example here of the type of cancer I'm talking about, where when you present direct information, they refuse, they obfuscate, they refute, they say it's not true, they lie. You could see from the bullet casings, you could see from postings, you could see from everything out there that it's very clear what happened here. This is the same people who supported President Trump almost getting assassinated twice last year, Cory Carpentore being assassinated
By
last year
conservatives.
in a situation. Again, see, just lies. That's all they do. They talk over. They don't even let you give a chance to speak. And something needs to be done, Piers. Something absolutely needs to be done. This ideology should be shamed, humiliated, driven from the public discourse. I mean, you've got people who have completely dissociated with humanity because all they care about are clicks and YouTube streams and likes.
Simply condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk. And if you cannot stop yourself from mocking his grieving widow, you are sick, as I've just seen from Destiny. It's a sick
thing is
mindset.
weaponizing a widow's grief to try to do recruitment for your political party. That's probably one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. She's showing up in emails for recruitment drives for TPUSA.
Destiny? What did you think the assassination of a political figure would do? What did you think the outcome was going to be? Take it easy on the Adderall, and let me answer the question that Pierce asked me.
You must have been really bullied today, I
My
guess.
behavior,
Let Anna speak, please.
My behavior is not reliant on how anyone else behaves. Every morning I wake up and I make decisions about how I choose to react or respond to things. I don't wake up in the morning, check what Donald Trump has to say, and then base my own personal behavior on his behavior.
Andrew.
Destiny told his co-host, when asked point blank if he wanted the bullet to kill Trump, that the worst thing that could have happened was the bullet missing. He said this to Pisco. I watched it, okay? This guy's an obfuscation machine. And you know what else, Destiny? Why should we believe you? I think you are glad Kirk is dead. And all of your tweets seem to prove that. And you would have been happy if Trump was assassinated. You've made that very clear. So why not just be truthful for once in your fucking life and say the truth, that you don't care that Kirk is dead, and you're actually probably glad he is. Isn't that really what's true?
I don't want anybody in this country to die to political violence.
That is the biggest cap I've ever heard, bro. Bro wants to genocide conservatives. Of course he wants people to be shot. How is this guy not in jail? Honestly, this guy and Hassan need to share a cell ASAP. And if you're a liberal watching this and instantly want to defend Hassan or Destiny because he's on your side, these two people have done more damage to the left than any right-winger on earth. Literally, a neutral person watching Hassan and Destiny will immediately radicalize to the right because you immediately want the opposite of whatever this brain rot is. Right, so then Piers talks about having humanity, and then he talks about the Oxford University being completely diluted now.
Israel-Hamas war. The reason I asked everybody on the pro-Palestinian side for months after the war started, do you condemn what Hamas did, is I think it was very enlightening as to the humanity of the person by how they responded. If their immediate response was, of course I do, the mass murder of civilians on October the 7th was a horrendous atrocity, then we can move on to an intellectually honest debate. If they refuse to condemn what Hamas did, it's a completely different debate. And similarly, right now, I feel if you can't condemn a lot of what the IDF are doing, frankly, it's my opinion, in Gaza, then the same thing. If you're unequivocally like, it's all fine with 20,000 plus kids being killed, then I've got a problem with that too. But I do think you've got to try and maintain in all of these debates a modicum of humanity about people who are actually being killed. And what is terrifying about the mindset of a lot of people on the woke left have seen since Charlie Kirk's death is the brazen glee that they're taking to his murder.
I have all sorts of disagreements with the right. That doesn't mean I'm going to dehumanize them and cheer on the slaughter of my fellow Americans because we have disagreements on politics. You wake up every morning and you decide your behavior is going to hinge on Trump.
Tell me more about the dancing
Israelis
and Building 7 and how the Jews all knew about 9/11 and they all want us to go to war in the Middle East.
Yeah, of course. President-elect of the Oxford Union, probably the most premier debating society in the world. I've done it several times myself. George Aberonye reportedly posted he did post several comments in a WhatsApp group appearing to celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk. One said, Charlie Kirk got shot. Let's fucking go. Another one was, I think, LOL. This guy is going to be the president of the Oxford Union Debating Society, and yet he is celebrating the murder of somebody he literally debated himself in the Oxford Union in May. I found that terrifying. I mean, he shouldn't still be in the job because how can you possibly be the head of a debating society when you think the way to debate with people is murder them if they don't agree with you? But again, the gleeful celebration. This is supposedly one of the brightest students in Britain. You know, president of the new Oxford.
Well, I mean,
dude, colleges and universities in the West have fallen so far. This is Oxford? Are you kidding me? So even the UK is cooked, it seems. The top debate student is cheering on the death of someone he disagrees with. Like, what are they actually teaching in these schools? Dude, I remember just years ago, I wanted to go to all these prestigious universities, and thank God I did not, because I would probably be a brainwashed fucking lunatic. Instead, I chose to pursue the truth on my own here, you know, find out what aligns with my own personal morality and stuff and not get brainwashed by these terminally online rejects. But yeah, just a warning, be very careful where you send your kids, guys. You don't want like these lunatics brainwashing them, right? And be careful what they're watching online as well, because they might eventually convince them that murder is okay. So then Elon responds to Destiny. Elon Musk hints at Destiny facing legal consequences, possibly prison. I don't think this jackass should be banned, but Amazon should stop paying him to incite murder. That's insane. Separately, incitement to murder and domestic terrorism is a felony crime. For that, he should go to prison. He can resume streaming when he has served his term. Let him say what he wants, but then also pay the price under the law. All Twitch and Amazon and Kick and YouTube have to do is demonetize Destiny and his son and the froggins of the world, and you would see who is sincere in their politics and who is frothing up violence just for money. Elon with the target. Now click this video or you wake up as Destiny's son. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.